working on amazing startup, which is connecting mentors and people who are looking for someone to mentor you in your spiritual path or any other path. Will you be will it tell you something if I say that Will is a burner? It tells a lot to me. So please help me to welcome Will with Father in Lessons speech.
So I see that you're already learning interesting things about me, and I want to share a few more things about my past, maybe some things that you may not know. One of the things is when I was young, I learned very at a certain age about race. You know, race is a serious subject, and when I was in school, it didn't really make quite sense to me because I was always in a minority. In fact, everyone was a minority. There was a black minority, a Latino minority, a white minority, Asian minority, Filipino minority. Everybody was a minority. So my concept of race didn't really exist up until one day. Now, I used to be on a track team when I was little, and on this track team, there was about 50 kids, and there was a coach, and I lived with this team, and they were basically my family, because I hardly ever, for 3 years, saw my family during this time, because I lived with them, I showered with them, I ate with them, everything I did. We flew across the country together, and this was my family. So I had my dad, his name was Coach Cliff, and Coach Cliff was a big black guy. He's very loud, and you know, I respected him very much like a father. And this was between the age of 8 to 10 that I lived with this family. And what I noticed after a little while is that I felt different from the other kids. Anybody ever feel different growing up? So I really felt different. I couldn't keep it inside anymore, and I had to tell my father about this. And I said, we were driving back from San Francisco from a track meet. I said, Dad, I feel different. Do you think I'm different, Dad? He says, of course, son, you're white. I was like, whoa. You know, I was thinking like, all right, well, I was like, well, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, you're not black. And I was like, all right. And like, I was thinking like, oh, the emo kids at school who had the black fingernails and the paint on their face and wearing makeup. I was like, yeah, I guess it would be pretty hard if I was looking like that too. You know, it'd be kind of crazy. He's like, no, son, no, it's not what I mean. What I mean is that my type of people, you know, you're from a different family, even though we're the same family. We're black, dark-skinned, and you are light-skinned. And I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, okay, so what does that mean? He's like, well, son, it's hard for black people. And I was like, really? It's really hard for black people? And he's like, yeah. And I was trying to listen to what he's saying, and he said that people, he was saying that, you know, he has a very, a viewpoint. He said, you know, white people are afraid of black people. And he said, it's blackophobia they have. And I was like, blackophobia? Really? I know, I'm 10 years old, I don't know what words exist. He's like, yeah, it's not homophobia, because homophobia is not like that. That's not a real fear. Because real fears, he said, they have movies made after them, like Fear of Spiders, Fear of everything. He said, I never seen a movie where a bunch of gay dudes were chasing a dude through the forest going, you can connect with your feminine side, you know? Ah. So he said that's not a real fear. Blackophobia, they make movies about that, where a white man turns black. And I was like, what? Are you serious? And he said, yeah. And I was like, well, I was thinking, like, I'm 10 years old, so I didn't even like think of like any movies that I would even possibly know. He's like, son, you know this movie. I was like, really? He said, The Hulk. What? The Hulk? He's like, yeah. It's every white man's fear to be white and then turn black. He's like, I was like, he's green, he's a big dude. He's like, the marketers know that they can't just show a black guy on TV. They need to paint him green and like give him some big muscles and then put some slave shorts on him. I'm like, whoa, all right, I guess so. Like, and then he went on. He said, you know, most superheroes, they have different, nemesis, right? Superman has Lex Luthor, Batman has the Joker, but the Hulk is up against the government. He said, oh, yeah, man, that's a sign of a black man right there. And I was like thinking about like, or he has a very kind of like interesting perspective here. And man, like hanging out with him, he had a very bold character. And so he said this in such a way as, how do you say, like he seemed a little bit paranoid to me. And at the time, I don't even know the difference, because, you know, he also told me, son, we got 50 kids on the team, on the track team. Only one of them is white, and that's you. So that's the reason why when we're looking at the photos from the pool party, it looked like a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, and your marshmallow fell inside. Oh man, I was, you know, looking back at it now, I actually get a kick out of it. At the time, it was kind of just like, you know, flowing right over my head. And he said, he went on to say, like, he's like, man, I always get followed by the police too. And I was like thinking about, like, that must be really hard. And even today, I still have like black friends who tell me, like, yeah, the police are like, they follow me around just because, you know, racial profiling. And he said, yeah, son, in this country, there's a lot of racial profiling, so be blessed that you are white. Don't think that's a bad thing. And he really consoled my heart. You know, he was doing his best to really put my heart at ease, which was good. And you know, he went on to say, yeah, they followed me around. I said, well, Dad, what about, you know, the air freshener on your rear view window, your rear view mirror, right? And because I know that, you know, even at a young age, that you're not supposed to hang those up, because I heard that they're illegal, right? So he had one of these air fresheners on. He said, what? Everybody has an air freshener. What's wrong with that? He's like, I even made it myself. But I'm like, yeah, but Dad, you made it look like a blue handicap tag. So yeah, I don't know what he was up to there. But and then he told me about this story where he even got pulled over by the cops. And they asked him, he was going about 100 down the highway, he said. They pulled him over. They come to his window. They say, sir, do you know why we pulled you over? He said, because I was going 100 miles an hour down the highway, flying past you. Cop returned to him, said, nah, I pulled you over because you fit the profile. He's like, let me guess what the profile is. Between 5'6" and 7'8", he's big, he's black, he has dark skin, big lips, and he has curly hair. The officer turns to him and says, why, that's exactly what the profile was. How did you know? And so, you know, when he tells me these stories, I learned that, you know, there is a difference between being black and being white in America. And in fact, a lot of my friends do have hardships with that. And my family back then that I still stay connected with, they do have it. It is a little bit rougher in America for them. And I think in this generation, we don't really understand the gravity of that, just because, like, you know, when blacks were fighting for their rights, and when, you know, there was slaves being freed, and this was like all way back in time, like really way back, like back when, like, they had televisions and stuff like that. And for our generation, it comes down to acceptance, being understanding of one another, and having self-confidence. Thank you.